So for us, I actually believe that we're in for another interesting year, and we're reaching a critical inflection point in our industry. And change is upon us, and we need to embrace this change rather than resist it, and embrace what the future will bring. And Apple is a great example of a business that can read the tea leaves of change early. And before you start reaching for your iPhones, because I know everyone's heard a story about Apple, everyone bangs on about Apple, but I've got a very simple story about Apple that I think is extremely relevant for us. And the story is around digital. And it was in 2013 that Steve Jobs had a conference, and the conference was called All Things Digital. And at that conference, he said to everybody, cell phones are going to be the way of the future. So Apple started experimenting. They started to look at adjacent businesses, and they partnered with Motorola. And from this collaboration, the genesis of a new idea developed. They developed their first mobile device, which was successful. However, they continued to iterate, and finally, on their own, they created a multimedia smartphone concept, the iPhone, which was announced and released in 2007. So what's interesting about this story is that they knew that change was coming and they embraced it. They collaborated with traditionally was what was deemed a major competitor. And they were clever enough to understand that they needed to look at adjacencies to grow their business. They found their matchmaker, and from this, they developed the iPhone. And from this, new businesses and new consumers emerged. And it's an interesting period for us to start thinking, who is our Motorola? The pace and speed in which technology has changed our world makes me curious as to what the next 7 years will look like if you go back 7 years ago when we all were given iPhones. Today, any question you want answered, Siri or Alexa have the answer, not Britannica. Gelato Messina after dinner, you can Uber it. And although it would be handy if we did have a Gelato Messina at Norton Plaza, the tram shed's got it instead of us, I'll still rely on Uber. Scanning social media on the train, if you want a new handbag from Celine, I jump onto Net-a-Porter and it's here in 3 days. And now I have to thank Westfield Sydney, I can actually get it today. But I think digital's created a world of instant gratification. The new consumer wants immediacy. They're educated, they're expectant, and today is even more important that we understand these consumers, the tribes that they choose to belong to, the things that they value and believe in, and this is where data becomes extremely valuable. We need to curate our places with the right product, the right experiences, and the right activations for our individual markets. And how we communicate all of this to the new consumer is critical. Content needs to be customised to different segments, and again, this is where data becomes valuable. Our places are now the playgrounds where you can come and play, where customers can touch and feel experiences, they can feel the brands in our centres, connect with their communities through local causes and events, and celebrate through centre and brand activations. And I think you've probably heard a consistent theme, but placing the customer at the core of decision making and using data insights enhances our ability to create spaces that are relevant and meaningful. And I think more importantly that everybody wants to belong and connect on a human scale. And we all have a wonderful opportunity to make this happen in our places.